Well, as I mentioned before, I've written a number of manuals, both for Moog and other brands of synthesizers. The EVI is not really a synthesizer in some form and fashion. But I sincerely think that most people do not read manuals now because they're so poor. Again, this is touting my own skills, I suppose. Wendy Carlos felt like my Micromoog manual was the best one that had ever come out. She might say that now. I've tried to read some of those manuals. I've got equipment that I've bought that I wished had some information. But it's all usually cloaked in some kind of touchy-feely stuff. It's been dumbed down sufficiently, I feel like saying, tell me how it works. Tell me what the transfer function is. I don't need the math, but, even that occasionally might be helpful. I understand enough math, that sometimes that helps me. Had I understood Bessel functions, which I later did, I would have understood what governed the rise and fall of partials in linear FM. It's very systematic. It's not like additive synthesis, where you have absolute control over each partial. No, they rise and fall in loudness based on these Bessel functions, and they come in pairs. These pairs of FM sine waves. So I am of the belief. I'll tell a little story now. The general thesis is: does knowing something hurt your creativity? You could actually probably know if you were totally didactic and totally involved in the Word, like people talk about the Bible, they're wrapped up in the Word, they've forgotten the Spirit. I suppose it is possible that you could become so balled up in the academic that you would forget the inspirational, but I don't think it necessarily happens. And there was it was Rick Wakeman, as a matter of fact. I was over at the British Trade Fair, and Rick showed me these facsimiles of the Minimoog. Oh, look at the sound charts I did, Tom. Okay, cool. Let's try some of them. Everything. I took notice instantly that the filter contours, it's called. There's three little knobs over here. If this knob over here is turned to 0, those three knobs just don't work. And I felt it was honest to point this out to Rick. Hey, let me point out something to you. See this knob right here? You got it 0? I said, these three right here don't do anything. You've got them with numbers in them and turned to specific places and etc. How'd that happen? Well, Tom, he says, I just manipulated the front panel until I got a sound I liked, and then I made notations and made a sound chart of it. I said, okay, that's cool. That's the empirical method. That's experimentation. I said, but gosh, wouldn't it be nice if you kind of knew what you were doing? Oh, I know you wrote the manual. I said, no, it's not about me. It's about you. It's about, would you really benefit by totally understanding this instrument? And then I told some stories, which may or may not be true, but any good salesman or any good teacher knows that the stories don't necessarily have to be true. They just have to be effective.